All right, welcome to Rhode Island. We're in North Kingstown. Had to make one of our first stops, Dell's Frozen Lemonade. And there's a bee that's circling me. Maybe he's going to try and get some of my Dells. Anyway, this video is going to be about some characteristic, typical Rhode Island drinks. Watch me get stung during this video. Typical Rhode Island drinks. So some of them, maybe we'll add some stuff to them. Maybe we won't. We'll see. But anyway, Dell's is frozen lemonade. So if you've seen like frozen lemonade other places, it's similar. But Dell's is its own thing in Rhode Island. It's been going since the 50s. It started as, I think, a truck, like in Cranston, back in the 50s. So it's been going on for 75 years. Now it's got brick and mortar shops all over the state, but where you really see it is in the Dell's trucks that during the summer are all over the place. Any beach that you go to in Rhode Island, there will be a Dell's truck there, and they'll be selling cups of this frozen lemonade. And what makes it so unique is, I think, is that you get little pieces of lemon in the lemonade. So little pieces of the rind, and it adds this great little bit of sourness to the frozen lemonade, some nice tartness to it. I really love it. It's one of my favorite things that I've had since when I moved to Rhode Island back in 1990. Now, Karen grew up here, and what I learned from her is teenagers may or may not have gone to the beach and gotten a Dell's lemonade, and then they may or may not have poured a little something in there, and then you walk around with this and no one's the wiser because it's right there in your cup. Now, I could take a plastic spoon and stir it up, but if you want to be a real Rhode Islander, here's how you mix it together. With your finger. All right. And of course, you know, it starts to melt it immediately. So good. So good. That was one of my favorite places, with or without the little extra in there. We were talking to the owner. They're getting ready to close up for the winter. But if you're here up until like November, especially in the summer, you've got to get yourself a Dell's. Totally worth it. One of the great things about summertime in Rhode Island. We're at the North Kingstown Town Beach in Rhode Island, and you can see what I got is called an Awful Awful, which is a Rhode Island drink that actually didn't originate here. It originated at a place called Bonds in New Jersey, and they licensed the name in Rhode Island, or in Massachusetts actually, to a place called Friendly's, with the agreement that they would never trespass into New Jersey with the Awful Awful and compete with them. Bonds eventually went out of business, and Newport Creamery swept in from Rhode Island and grabbed the patent, grabbed the name, the trademark, and now they are the only place that offers Awful Awfuls. And when I lived in Rhode Island, they used to advertise this all the time. And the tagline is awfully big, awfully good, awful awful. So what is an Awful Awful? Well, it's like a shake. It's like a malted. If you've ever had a malted, it's like a malted milkshake. It uses ice cream, and then it uses malted milk, and it mixes it together in the machine and comes in all kinds of different flavors. I just got the vanilla because, you know, you want to add a little something to your Awful Awful to give it a little bit of a pop. Add a little bit of that in there. Stir it in. Now we got a real Awful Awful. It's good. I gotta say, I don't want to litter. My straw wrapper's flying away. I'm gonna add just a little bit more. There you go. Yeah, so awful, really a classic drink here in Rhode Island. And I got it for the video today just because the name is so funny. But it is a classic drink, and if you go, there's like 10 Newport creameries in Rhode Island. There's a couple in Massachusetts. Ice cream and bourbon goes well together. There's also something in Rhode Island called a cabinet, which is similar. It's really just a shake. Cabinet is really just a shake. But when you come to Rhode Island and if you see someone ordering a cabinet, not furniture, it's a milkshake. But my preference is the awful with a little stuff added to make it extra good. We're in Providence on College Hill. This is where all the universities are here in Providence. You've got RISD, which is right next to us, the Rhode Island School of Design. This is famous for where the Talking Heads first met back in the 70s. Also up the hill a little bit is Brown University. So you've got a really hip, energetic area of Providence here. And so of course they've got a hip, energetic coffee shop right behind me. This is Dave's Coffee, and this is a good coffee place. The reason I came here is because they make their own coffee syrup. If you've never been to Rhode Island, you've probably never heard of coffee syrup or coffee milk, but coffee milk is the official drink of Rhode Island. And I gotta say, I'd never tried it before I came to Rhode Island in 1990 for a job, but when I got here, you know, every office has the coffee machine, and they had the regular setup with the coffee and the pot and the creamer and the stirrers and the sugar and all that stuff. And right next to it, coffee syrup, because everyone loves coffee syrup. Coffee syrup's been around for about 100 years. There are two main producers. They're both owned by the same company. And if you go into a grocery store here in Rhode Island, you'll see Autocrat coffee syrup right there on the shelf next to the ground coffee and all the other coffee supplies that you might look for. So what is coffee milk or coffee syrup? Coffee syrup is just coffee that's been reduced down to a syrup. So it's super concentrated and it's also sweet. And what you do is you add coffee syrup to the milk to make coffee milk. So you might think, oh, it sounds just like a cappuccino or a latte or something. Not really. It has a more intense flavor, but not as roasted or bitter. It's sweeter, and with the milk added, it makes a really nice drink. Sorry, we're on South Main Street here. There's a couple of trucks rolling by, but it makes for a really nice sweet drink, and I see why people in Rhode Island love it. You know, in this video we've been having a little bit of fun adding to our drink, so we'll add a little something to that. Might be a coffee flavored whiskey that I added in there, Irish whiskey. That helps too. It's really good, really good. So we've had some fun on this video. We had a Dell's where we may have added in a little spike to it. We had an awful, which is another typical Rhode Island drink. And now we've had coffee milk. So the three mainstays of really unique Rhode Island beverages in this video. If you like this kind of food and travel content, be sure and like the video, subscribe to the channel. I also have a podcast called Destination Eat Drink. It's available on all the podcast platforms. That's food and travel around the world. If there's a city that you can think of that's famous for food, I've probably done a podcast episode on, so you can subscribe to the podcast of Destination Eat Drink. It's also the website, destinationeatdrink.com. I did a whole foodie travel guide to the state of Rhode Island. And of course, I included Dells and some of the drinks that we talked about in that. So you can get that at destinationeatdrink.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Brent Peterson. See you down the road.